We have only 35 chambers. There is no 36.
I know that. But I want to create a new chamber.
And what would that be?
I think Shaolin techniques should be available to all. So then, that's my idea for a new chamber. To teach the martial arts to the people. Anybody.
Right, welcome back to another episode of My Three Cents. And on this one, I'm going to talk about the upcoming homeless. I don't know what we want to call this, but it's kind of like the next generation of homeless people, families. It's all about to happen very soon. It's very unfortunate, and I know that it's probably mostly brown, black, whatever you want to say, our people that is going to fall victim to this. People are going to plead. People are going to ask for help. Nobody's going to care. They're not going to help them. And I'm going to tell you why. Because in the stock market, we would call this a bear trap. They fell for a bear trap. You see, when the pandemic happened, the government started passing laws where he would say, you don't have to pay your rent. If you're getting low on money, if you lost your job, something affected you from this, you don't have to pay your rent. And what we mean by that, we don't look. This is how they kind of got people too, right? Now listen very carefully how they did this. They didn't necessarily say you don't have to pay your rent. What they said was, we'll block evictions. And that's very important because a lot of people took that as you don't have to pay your rent. I just feel like there should be a little bit of responsibility on them, but not really, because people also should have known you're going to have to pay it someday. Now, here's the psychological part, right? A lot of black people, we don't think about future consequences. There's stages of us, right? This is why people say not all black people are the same. It's very true. Not all of any culture is the same. But it's only because there are stages within this thing, right? Within the cultures. So you'll have people at different stages, right? You'll have people in their 30s and 40s still going to the club. When you'll have those of us that did that young, so we don't do that now. So it's a lot of, that's why you can't really judge where people are, because you don't know what they were allowed to do at a different stage. And this kind of goes into the universal laws of balance. It's the same thing, right? So, we are different in a lot of ways. And so we have to kind of help each other recognize because see, now that it's 2021, right? So this is something we all have to experience the same time, right? So no matter what stage we're in, we have to exist in the now. So this is why it's important for us to let each other know, hey man, what you're doing could hurt you later. It's not going to help you. But a lot of us are reluctant to speak up. So we're not all educated on the same things. We're not all properly evolved mentally. Forget education. I'm talking about mental evolution, where you can actually just have a mature mind to think about something. A lot of people don't even have a mature mind to think about something. They think in an immature way. So all their thoughts, they're pointless. They're all going to be, they're only applicable if you're on that level, right? So they got to deal with people on the level of what they perceive. That's anybody. That's healthy. Now, there does have to be an evolution. That's built in. So dealing with people at the level that you perceive is important and healthy, but there should also be a natural evolution where you shouldn't be in the same position for too long. They tell you that sitting too long will kill you. I mean, doing anything too long will hurt you. So it boggles my mind when I see people that just, it's 2021. You gotta do something different to survive now. The guns don't have the same bullets. The police are different. Everybody's different. The streets are different. You know, all the stuff you see now, I feel like, and probably every generation feels like this, but I feel like a lot of it came from our generation, and it's just been magnified and multiplied and perverted. I mean, the gangster generation now, everything that's happening is just an exaggerated version of what it used to be. It's very weird. It's overdone now. Like, every rapper has 1,000 chains and all the money. Well, this can't be realistic. Somebody's lying. Oh. It's sad that people can't see through this kind of stuff and they constantly push it on us. The same people that make the news are the same people that push the stuff that they put on the news. It gives them news. It's messed up. So there's this bear trap. And so I like to invest in the stock market. So months ago, I'm saying to myself, man, this is going to happen again. There's about to be another housing crash, right? This is what I'm seeing. I'm foreseeing this because it feels just like the big one that happened, I believe, in '08. A lot of people made a lot of money, and a lot of people were mad about the people that were able to foresee it and make money. And some of the ones that were able to foresee it and make money were mad at themselves for what they made money on because of how messed up this thing is. That's how deep it is. They took the money, though. So, with this is going to be epic. We got the holidays coming up, if you are into that kind of stuff, right? I mean, I feel like you should celebrate whenever, whatever, however you and your family want to do it. You don't need days. That's weird. What do you feel like all the other days? You don't love me? Come on. So, with this trap, if you don't know what I'm talking about yet, they weren't paying their rent. The only thing that was protecting people was what they called the moratorium. Now, they kept extending it. Right when you thought it was going to be over, they kept extending it. They had the holidays last year. They extending it. They've been building this thing up. See, if you invest in the stock market, this is like something being way too bullish, right? They just building this thing up. It's ready to pop now. So now what you have is millions that have not paid their rent. And just yesterday, the Supreme Court, and you got to understand game on this kind of stuff, they make it seem like it's a separate entity. We have nothing to do with them. They said it. The Supreme Court, they did. So it's always a pass the buck kind of thing. They don't believe in segregation, but they segregate from each other to cover themselves. Think about it. So yesterday, outruled the moratorium. What does that mean? Well, that means that starting today, people started getting eviction notices on their door, or at least paperwork started being filed. You've actually had in the news people, I saw a story, I forget what state it was in. A person was killed, a landlord killed a tenant with that happened after an argument about rent due. They wouldn't pay it because they didn't have to, according to, hey, Joe Biden, your president, the ones y'all voted for, whoever voted for him, whoever voted, whoever does that stuff so they can just know how you think. It has nothing to do with what you want. It's just participation, makes you feel important. That's important. So a lot of people are going to just lose their homes, rentals, everything. And you see, the ones that won't are the ones that had legit businesses that were actually making money before this stuff happened. If you're in that category, you're good. And your house, you're good. But if you're in the majority category of people who, let's say, you were barely making it and, you was getting out there working a little bit, and let's say you wanted to work more, and then this happened, right? So now you don't have anything. You don't have anything you can write down on paper and say, I own this, I'm a business. You don't have anything, right? But you had great intentions. And it doesn't count for anything now. So they don't care about your circumstance. The point now is, if you didn't have something where they can give you a grant or a loan based on, they deem you unimportant to the system, really. Because what are you contributing? You must be leeching off the system if you didn't lose money from the virus, right? Think about it. It's just another categorization. How do you prove it? Because you're being treated different. So all these people are going to lose their homes. This is going to become a whole new generation of homeless people. How could they possibly profit from that? Unless they start to build more things to house the homeless, right? Will that be the next boom for them? Will that be the next place where they get the return on investments? Non-profit organizations? Easy to move money through? Who knows? So what you do have is a lot of people right before the holidays will be in a tough situation. Not only that, but if you're paying attention, there's going to be another lockdown. It's common sense. In the market, all the lockdown stocks are getting ready to go up. Look, this is not financial advice. But, for instance, lockdown stocks that will go up. Pfizer, Walgreens, Walmart, even Publix. And any food delivery or store delivery type of service. Those stocks will go up. Invest in them. Anything people are going to be sitting at home doing, you guys got to think ahead of time. You got to see stuff around the corner and say, oh, that makes sense. Now, when you think about these things that I just said, and when you go look at the stocks, this is what you're going to see, I want you to look at the day chart, the week chart, the month chart, and then look at the 3 to the 5 month chart. Because looking backwards, and this is a tip, when you're looking at a stock, looking backwards 3 to 5 months is the exact same as looking forward 3 to 5 months from the moment you're in right now. Think about it. These things move in cycles. So with that little bit of information, you should be able to piece together a pattern and say, oh yeah, this one's due to go up here in the next month or so. And then you'll understand why. A lot of this stuff is just a money game. Toilet paper companies, all this type of stuff, water, all these companies are going to skyrocket once again. And a lot of people are going to make a lot of money while a lot of people are being displaced because they fell for traps that loaded the boat for a lot of very wealthy people. So by allowing people to not pay their rent, by allowing for landlords to forego evicting people, right, for making that happen, and the landlords sit there and complain. Now, here's how this could have been solved. They could have easily gave the landlords special checks. If you're giving all this money out, if you got all these loans for people losing money during the pandemic, I mean, I'm not a rocket scientist, but wouldn't that include landlords? Wouldn't they just be able to recoup all that money and not have to hold it against the tenants out of spite, but still hold them accountable for the money to start back paying because the moratorium is over, but not just when the moratorium is over, immediately kick them out? There's not going to be a law to protect people from that part. They can still owe the money. They can be sued for, and look, they're going to get kicked out and they're going to get sued for the money. So the satisfaction is the kicking them out. Why is that important? Because they want to recoup the property. Now, this is gentrification at its finest. I stole this back from you legally. You gave it back to me. You lived here rent-free for X amount of time. So their thing is like, you should have stacked your money. The messed up thing is, especially with our people, if you haven't been educated, if you haven't been taught about money, investing, or if you haven't educated yourself about this stuff, then 9 times out of 10, you stunned it, you went out, you shopped and did everything else, and now you're scrambling, you're doing GoFundMes about your babies and your kids, and you're a single parent, and all this type of stuff. And I'm not saying this to make light, but I'm saying if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results. If you keep living a delusion and not really trying to look at what's happening, then you're just crazy as hell. That's why I say when you figure stuff like this out, you got to help people when you see them doing this kind of stuff. Help them. Say something. Make everybody uncomfortable for 10 minutes, and guess what? After that, your relationship will be different. It's worth making somebody uncomfortable for 10, 15 minutes by just saying something real to them that might rock their world. Why not? So people not paying their rents and their mortgages, this is like pulling back a slingshot. And when they say we need that money, it's going to snap. It's going to snap. And here's the thing. So what I started looking up months ago on the investment side, I said to myself, well, who's going to get paid from this? I got to find out. I'm tracing it. What lender? What firm? What banks? Who holds these notes for most of these companies that own most of these rental agencies? You see? You got to zoom out. Then you can see who's profiting off this kind of stuff. Or else they wouldn't be kicking people out. they would actually have a heart, right? Because isn't this the country where they say God, Jesus and God stuff all the time? This is God country, don't they say that? Isn't this all about that? In God they trust, right? Trust what? About what? Who had trust issues? What happened? Who you speaking for? Who is we? What's going on? I don't know. I don't know anything about that. So it's messed up that this will be the year in the future where they look back and say, "Man, this is you know, you got future generations of people that's gonna die from this because they won't. This is where they'll start in a deficit. You know, you worked all your life. You might have been just building up, scraping up. I don't care what your situation was. If you got taken out by this, now look, some people actually legit couldn't pay and didn't really qualify for these types of loans and whatnot. So they're genuinely in a messed up situation, and they're still going to get kicked out because a whole bunch of other people took advantage. That's why. It's always about what the majority does, the masses, which I told you was always the average. Whatever the most number of the people that's on a certain wave, you know, that's just the average, always. So we can't do nothing about that. And I don't know, man. It's just messed up. And I just wanted to talk about that because this is going to be monumental. They're not talking about it really. Like they're mentioning the moratorium, but they're not explaining how many people are about to be on the streets. Meanwhile, they're flying thousands and thousands of people into the country right now from the Middle East. I live in Florida, and they're actually shipping them right to Jacksonville. I literally watched the government, I watched them talk about it. You got to watch the stuff that's on like CNN and C-SPAN. These channels that might seem boring, if you think they're boring, that means you don't know what you're looking at. You got to look at this stuff because they're talking about you. They're talking about stuff they're going to do to you. Pay attention. Take time and look at it. Try to understand what they're saying and you'll start getting it. You have to. Look at the stocks on the bottom of the screen. All it is showing you a price and either a plus or a negative. If it's green, I mean, it was going up last time they checked. If it's red, it was going down. You'll see a percentage. That's the percent it went down. You'll see another number. That's the physical money equivalent that it went down. But there won't be no money signs because they call them points. But they're really pennies. You see? You just got to know this kind of stuff. Oh, it went down 5 points. And depending on what stock you're talking about, that could be $5. So, you know, they overcode this stuff so you think it's confusing. So along with the people being displaced, along with them bringing a bunch of people into the country during the Ovid, right? During that, they're bringing all these people in. What about that? All these arguments about schools and masks. They say it's so bad, but then they're opening the schools and then they're arguing about the masks. Why are things an argument if we're sure it's so bad that people need to be taking an experimental shot? Where you don't even know what that's going to do to you generations down. That's the problem. There's been no long-term testing. And I told y'all before it happened, that they were going to rush through with the approval from the FDA or whoever else has to approve it. Once it's approved, they can mandate it. Once they're allowed to fully mandate it, you could lose your job just like that for not cooperating. Now, to all my people that are Christians and came up with that, isn't this just the mark of the beast? I know y'all want to say that so bad, but at the same time, some of y'all took the shot, so you're not going to say it. See? So, all these things are just metaphoric. It's going to happen again and again and again in a different form. But yes, that is that. Where they're saying you can't go in the store and get stuff, la da da. You see, because all this stuff comes from a masterful blueprint. And it doesn't matter what story form, or if it's Heru or Jesus or Solomon or Joseph. All them guys are the same person. Zeus. No matter what form, Hercules, Jesus, yeah, same guy. You know, no matter what form you put this stuff in, no matter where you get it from, they're all telling you something from a divine blueprint. And they just work this on people over and over because it works. It's everything. It's very deep. And so what they're doing now is playing such mind games, and they're telling people that will take your livelihood if you don't take this damn shot. Why is this shot so damn important? There's a study that shows that natural immunity is the best immunity, and you can't argue that. Now, since we were kids, again, my Christians, right? We grew up. God made dirt. What happened when something hit the ground? Right? There was this whole thing. Some people pick it up and kiss it. They say, God made dirt and dirt don't hurt. And y'all know the rest. Put it in your mouth and let it work. Y'all know we used to say that because we were always told and taught that germs were good. And if you get a little dirty, that's fine, because this builds up what's called an immunity. Your immune system will be strong. So it won't be easy for you to get sick in the future, right? A lot of us came up like that. And melanated people have, you know, with melanin, and you can look this up obviously, but with melanin, it also helps shield against radiation. So there's a lot of things that we have that we're already good. So what it comes down to is how you're treating your vessel. Are you putting the wrong stuff in you to make you a target, right? To weaken your immune system. So all that comes into play, alkalinity, acidity, that's on you. So those types of functioning ways, right, when you're not treating yourself right and you're putting yourself in those states, in those low vibrational states, you're making their statements true by saying the virus is this killer. You're making their statements true because you're just becoming the perfect host. Right? It's because, you know, you got to understand, they're telling you stuff's in the air, all this stuff. Look, I didn't see one squirrel cough. I ain't trying to be funny. I haven't seen a bird fall out the sky. You got corona. I thought it was in the air. I don't know what's going on. I'm just saying what they're saying. None of this stuff ever makes sense. But you just have to think. It's important for you to take it, but why? It's an RNA, but why? Why do you need access inside my DNA? Why? So they're doing the mandate thing. They started with the military and, you know, obviously people they can control, the federal people, all that. And then they'll trickle it down to where that'll be enough people to actually bully the rest of the people. This is one of their strategies. Family members and friends against each other because you haven't took the shot. These are Christians, right? These are people that, and I'm not picking, trust me, I'm not picking on the Christians. I just love to use them for an example because they have so many so-called principles that they steadfast with and steadfast to, but I just don't ever see it, but I hear about it a lot. So I like to call out situations where it would be a perfect opportunity to work your magic. Show me what you got. All this stuff you've been, you got it. You've been talking about it. Let's see it. Let's see it in action. So, they they got us at a point now where your immune system is shot. If you're eating half the food, I mean, it's a wrap. So this is where it's easy to implement something because they have actual proof that the majority of people are out of shape or in bad health, quote unquote. And this is because your medical records and everything else. So this is all, it will end up being justified by the masses because of how it was put together. It's very smart. Natural immunity has always been the best immunity. Everybody knows that. That's stupid to think otherwise. So how come it's been working for stuff like the chicken pox, right? Think about it. Do people get the chicken pox more than once? Yes or no? Exactly. People don't get the chicken pox more than once because you have built up a natural immunity. Your body will recognize that. So this is also what happens with this thing, right? Because if you've had it, and say you've had it, and it didn't really do nothing to you, you bounce, you was like, oh, I didn't even really get sick. I don't know. It was about some phlegm. I spit that out. I was good, right? So say that's you. Now, you have built up a natural immunity to what this thing is on a molecular level, right? So when it's reintroduced to you in this weird form of an mRNA and not the actual virus, it will still trigger the body to think it is. And it will recognize it as such. And this is why you will have reaction. So in this case, it would be detrimental maybe for a person that has been through it and has gained natural immunity to tamper with that. And then they say, well, to that argument, we have this other strain. And then I say, well, to that argument, you haven't even studied that strain well enough to be able to recognize it in a normal test. So how do you know? Just because you discovered that strain in a lab doesn't mean you get to say, everybody that comes through here now has that since on this date last week we discovered it. So now from that date forward, we will say such and such. That's how basic a lot of this is. It's rhetoric and it's people's lives involved. Think about your genetics and your future. Think about the fact that in the future someday it could be like, hey, why are we like this? You're like, oh yeah, man, hey, our great-great-great-grandparent took a damn vaccine back then. They fell for some shit and fucked up our genetics. So, this is how we are now. You don't know what you're doing, so don't do it. It would be better to just drink water, take care of yourself, change your diet, exercise, stop smoking, do something that was you actually bettering yourself, putting yourself in a position where you're not vulnerable. That is the best thing you can do. Now, nothing that comes against you will really be able to work because you are not that kind of vessel. You are not that kind of host. Everybody ain't welcome here, right? So it's messed up that all these things are intertwined with money. Some companies and lenders are going to make a whole lot of money when the government, now watch this, I'm just telling you how it works. The government is going to cover all of these mortgages, rentals, all these owners of these real estate businesses or whatever, these rental businesses, all of these owners will be compensated by the government at some point. And when that happens, right, when their loans are covered, right, when that happens, every stock associated with these people, every ETF associated with these companies, and if you don't know what an ETF is, look it up. It has to do with stocks. Look it up. It's a company that that actually has a bunch of other companies under it, like an umbrella, and it kind of trades as a group, and it kind of has a worth as a group. So a lot of these people do this kind of stuff. All right, and what happens is they make money together because they would have to be in cahoots about certain movements outside of the actual market. Now, there's this thing called inside trading, right, where you can't just get together and talk about stocks. You can't give people tips on something that you know about definitively, right? So what you can do is be a part of an ETF or have an ETF, right? So if you're this company and you're building this ETF, isn't that the same thing? If you have this whole group of companies within your quote unquote company or under your umbrella, your trading umbrella, isn't that kind of the same thing? If you guys are sharing value all together, because isn't that kind of the same thing? Because you're going to make the moves that are going to make you all make money. So we're all going to know the moves being made. This creates a perpetual cycle of investing and making money. You'll see them dip because it has to look real, but guess what? Right after that dip, that ETF is about to skyrocket. If you look into ETFs, you'll see that. They move funny. They move very spiky. They go up, they go down. They don't do too much trading sideways. This is how people eat. You got to learn this stuff. I'm going to start doing some investment episodes and just... because you know what? I don't hear enough people just giving it away. Everybody's charging for it. I'm telling you guys, you can support the podcast. You can do anything. You can come here and get it for free, but guess what? Clear your conscience. Do something. Help out. Be a part of it. Entwine your energy, right? This has to be a give and take. That's what it is. And also, shout out to the new people that I was checking the list this week, and I got a couple alerts of some new subscribers to the podcast and new supporters of the podcast. So look, I appreciate y'all because I'm putting myself out there. I really don't. I hold the weight for us that want to talk about this stuff, and nobody's really talking about it. This is why my email can be found. I think it's on the RSS feed, and and I leave it in the description a lot of times. You guys can hit me up. And let me know what you want to talk about or possibly be on an episode, right? If you got something to say, man, whether you're against or for what I'm talking about, it could be either or. We could talk about it, right? So, yeah, man, a lot of people are going to make money off this when it does happen. Be on the lookout for this. And, man, it just sucks. There's almost nothing we can do now because a lot of people are in such deficit. It's going to change the economy. There's a lockdown coming. They're trying this universal income thing, maybe kicking all these people out or helping kind of nudge them to do the wrong thing with their money and be responsible with their money, kind of. Because if you're telling people you can't pay your rent, you won't get kicked out, right? Then even if people were saying, okay, well, we need to spend that on food, that's messed up if the government ain't going to just do something better than a couple of stimuluses because that's not going to be enough to pay back all that back rent. Now, if somebody calculated it that way, that was genius. If they hit it right, boom, stimulus replaced it, boom, genius. But you got to have foresight. You got to be able to see this stuff coming. You know, a lot of times black people don't grow up fast enough, and we find ourselves in these situations that require a little more capacity than we have. We weren't prepared. It's just like that. So, I still just, encourage you to look up into this stuff. Don't just go taking shots. I mean, I know you got to make money and do what you got to do, but it's got to be another way if it's not meant for you to do that kind of stuff. And if you feel and know there's not meant for you to do that kind of stuff, then there is another way. You just have to calm yourself and look around at what's available. There is something available. And normally it's going to be linked to what makes you feel good. It's very selfish, right? It's all right. You don't have to feel any type of way about that. So I really just wanted to touch on that situation as far as the housing. And I feel like it's going to be one of the biggest crashes, quote unquote crashes, Because just like in '08, yeah, there was a crash, quote unquote, but guess what? They were covered by the government. This is a cycle, people. The money seems to go through things until it's put back. And when it's put back, a lot of people just come up, but it's normally not you. It's normally the ones that while it was cycling got cycled, got flushed. Somebody always gets flushed. So look at who they're flushing. Look at who they're all right with being flushed out. And you keep voting, all right? If you feel like that's what you're supposed to be doing. So that's all I wanted to touch on this one. Appreciate y'all listening. Appreciate all the return listeners. Hey, tell somebody about it if you got something from it. Give me some feedback. Let me know whatever you want to say. I really don't care. If it's negative, I'm fine with that. If it's positive, cool. You know, it's all the same. It's just energy. So, yeah, once again, I appreciate it. And make sure you come back again, check me out, and check out some of the other episodes. Don't worry about what the episodes are called. I always say that because I'm putting all kind of stuff in them. You know, sometimes I go all over the place. That's just how it is. So until next time, I appreciate y'all wholeness and a whole bunch of gratitude. Man, help somebody out if you can that might be in this situation. And there's going to be some people asking y'all for help and saying that they're behind and can you help them. Just already know that, especially if you got a little money. Don't be stingy. You know, help your people out because it's coming. And for those of us that was fortunate enough to be able to keep it up and keep it going, you know, by any means, that's a blessing in itself, man. So congratulate yourself on that and help somebody else, all right? So until next time, it's been my 3 cents and wholeness and a whole ton of gratitude falling on you. Go on.